to the Photo Diaries podcast. I'm your host, Grace Costa, a commercial photographer of over 2 decades, a photo-based artist, and a photography mentor. This podcast opens up a secret diary about the world of the photography industry. We'll bring you inspiring interviews with industry professionals, as well as stories and tips to help you propel through your photography journey, whether you're just starting out or a seasoned pro. Thanks for joining me today. Now let's open the latest diary. I feel like I haven't spoken to you in ages. I missed last month's podcast episode. I don't think you would have noticed. So that's that. But we've had a busy season, not only just work-related stuff, but I've also been in 2 different mastermind groups. And there's been lots of follow-up work, lots of things to get done in between work hours. So I found that quite taxing, but also really beneficial. I've improved and started learning more about sales in one of my masterminds. So that has been super amazing. And then that's information and knowledge I can share with you guys too. I've also been working on my messaging and the coaching and mentoring space. So it has been worthwhile, even though it's been hard to manage within my work time. But I'm glad that I invested in this next level coaching because it's given me next level growth, and that's important. So today's episode, actually, we're not going to talk about that stuff. We're actually going to talk about when to discount and working with not-for-profit organizations. So I feel like this piece of information is going to help you going forward, especially if you are a corporate photographer or like doing events for businesses and organizations. So this week I had an email requesting to cover an event for a non-government organization, not-for-profit. And specifically in their email, she did say before I sent the quote, just letting you know we are a not-for-profit organization, so we don't have a ton of money. Fine. That meant I could have gone in one of two directions. I could have chosen to automatically reduce my rate because they are not for profit. And I feel like most photographers would have done that. Think that they need to do that, basically. And I think the other option is to charge your full rate and not give a discount. And once I see where this place was having their event, it's one of the expensive venues in the nation's capital, and they were hosting 100 people for dinner. So then I thought, okay, yes, you may not have a ton of money, but you are hosting at the most expensive venue in the nation's capital. Therefore, I ain't going to. They're going to just be what they are. And I decided to charge my full rate at the risk of her not booking me because, as she said, they don't have a ton of money. So I sent off the quote, my full rate. I didn't feel like I needed to discount. I thought, nah, I have to leave my house. It's going to be at night time, so my husband's got to get home early to pick up my little girl from daycare, and it was nighttime, so it's inconvenient for me to even go to this job. Why would I even charge less for the inconvenience to me just to serve this client who I'd never even met before? They're a brand new client. And so I decided to charge my full rate at the risk of them not booking. They accepted the quote. When I turned up to the shoot, it was a last minute booking actually, so I think it was 2 days later. They'd signed the contract, they accepted the quote, everything was ready to go, and I turned up to the job, and she was really respectful. She was very respectful to me. She shook my hand. She said, "Is there anything I can do for you, Grace? What do you need?" And I suggested a few things to be changed so that the event looked better visually and things like that. And just, mentioned the schedule of events and who was the VIPs in the room so that I could know that I could focus on them when I was doing the photography around the room, etc., etc. And I just want to highlight that just because an organization is not for profit, as service providers, we don't have to feel obliged to give a discounted rate. I'm giving you the permission not to discount for a not for profit organization. However, if the organization is meaningful to you, it's important to you, or you feel close to it, maybe you can give a small discount. But at the end of the day, I feel like the organization doesn't really notice that you've given a discount unless you explicitly say, this is my not for profit rate or whatever. Um, I know that other parts of the like suppliers in these events aren't giving a not-for-profit discount rate. I know for sure this event space, which is so expensive to buy meals, I think they're about $200 a head they would have paid for to pay for their guests to eat at this place. They're not giving a discount rate for not-for-profit, so why should other suppliers do that, such as photographers? And I think, yes, it can be case by case basis. You need to make the decision what's right for you. But again, I don't want you to feel the pressure, because people will book you if they want you, if they feel you are of value and you are the right fit for them and for their event, they will book you at your rate. And for me, it feels easier to stand by this position because I have built my position as a respected, fully qualified, fully able to deliver, fully, you know, what am I trying to say? Like somebody who is and trusted to deliver and is a high quality photographer. So, because my position is of those things and it's reflected in my website where they first had contact with me before they've even met me, that makes it easy for me to stand by my rates and not feel the pressure to give a different rate for a not for profit or an NGO. So, when you consider your business, I think it's very important, if you want to be a photographer that is respected, be a photographer that doesn't have to give discounts, be a photographer that can stand by their rates in any situation, I would highly recommend you look at your positioning next year. Look at your positioning on your website, look at the words you use in your copy, look at the portfolio you present, look at everything you do in your brand, that it represents and puts you forward as the go-to best choice for some businesses to choose you. And I have that. I have that 100%. I can stand by that. I am the go-to choice when it comes to corporate photography and events. And I've worked hard to position myself that way. It's not because I've been a photographer for over 20 years. There are other factors to it, as well as the portfolio, as well as me knowing the industry so well, as well as me knowing my job inside and out, as well as me knowing that I can deliver 100% of the time in any situation I'm given. All those things together, and also understanding business, helps me be in that position where I can feel confident that clients will choose me and they're choosing me for what I portray. So I'm going to keep it simple there, but again, it is still your choice because I do believe it's your business, your rules. But just remember, you do have permission to charge your full rate for not for profits and for other situations like this where you might feel obliged to give a discount. From my experience, I I and other photographers I know produce a better result when you're paid full rates. There is no doubt about that. You produce a better result when you're paid respectfully, you're treated respectfully, and you're paid your full rate. That's a good thing. Good thing to remember. And you can also be treated a lot better when you show up like that. You show up as your full rate. I know that might sound weird, but you show up as your full rate. Like I wore a blazer, I wore my name badge. I showed up looking great, feeling great, knowing that I charged properly for this job. And she shook my hand on arrival. She asked me what I needed to make this job easy. She invited me to have a glass of water, told me where I could put my bags. She just treated me as part of the team. And I think all that is really evident in the fact of the way I position myself as a professional. And I respect myself, and therefore I was getting respect on the other end from my client. So I hope that helps you going forward, whether you're a corporate commercial photographer or doing things in the domestic space. I feel like you can still keep this attitude with whatever area you work in. So friends, I thank you for joining me, and yeah, I hope you have a great week, and take a listen to some of the back catalogue over the season so that you can catch up on the podcast episodes. And until next time, I'll catch you later. That's it for today's episode. If you found it valuable, I invite you to leave a review so more people can find this podcast, or simply subscribe to be notified when each new episode drops. Until next time, see you later.